To have a long career, that's the goal, to be in the league for 20 years. I tell you, that's the goal.
Artis Gilmore told me one time, he played for Chicago, he said, if you expect to play a long time in this league, you better quit mopping up the floor. And I thought, well, he's crazy, because that's what basketball is all about.
Bird takes it away from Wilkins, goes to the floor and gets it up ahead.
And it's just basketball. At the end of the day, it's just basketball.
Larry Bird barely talks these days, but when he does, it actually means something. The same quiet killer who built a Hall of Fame legacy by proving everything on the court has been watching the new age NBA debates from the background, staying silent while players argue nonstop about who's the greatest. But according to people close to the Celtics legend, one thing KevinDurant said on LeBronJames' podcast finally pushed Bird past his limit.
Yeah, I'm 10, 12 years in, I got 4 MVPs and 4 championships, but do I still want to do this shit? You know what I'm saying?
Because you know how hard it is.
Some people say, I want to go play baseball.
And what he's reportedly saying behind closed doors is something every real hoop fan needs to hear. The whole mess kicked off on LeBron's Mind the Game podcast. Durant was sitting across from LeBron as they talked about long careers and what it really takes to be great in today's NBA. Then Durant dropped a comment that sounded harmless at first, but the meaning underneath hit way harder. He mentioned MichaelJordan's 1993 retirement, leaning back with a smirk.
You know, my father just passed. You know, we just finished our 3rd championship season where, you know, we had a lot of different personalities, you know, going against each other. And
individual goal was that Magic, Bird, Isaiah never did this. So that meant a lot to me to do it for the 3rd time, yes. You know, I won't say that I'm better than those people.
Some people say I want to go play baseball, Durant said with this knowing look, and LeBron instantly burst into laughter. The camera caught every second of it. They knew exactly what type of message they were sending, making it seem like Jordan quit on basketball, like he got tired and decided to try something softer. Meanwhile, LeBron's been hooping for over 20 years, so the message was obvious. Longevity means toughness. Staying around means you're more dedicated than someone who stepped away. But here's why that take is so disrespectful, and why Larry Bird reportedly couldn't ignore it anymore.
I competed hard. I played the game the way it was supposed to be played. I played injured, and I played with a lot of pride. So I owe everything to the NBA.
MichaelJordan, the Magic Johnsons, Larry Bird, Charles Barkley's, we earned what we got. When the corporate America came to us, we had a game that could validate their admiration and
sponsorship and all that, yeah.
Now they get that before they play one game.
Yeah.
So you're rolling the dice to see if this kid's ever going to be good or not.
Yeah.
So in essence, you're paying the kid off of potential.
Yeah.
That he may be great.
You don't think that's good?
No, because I think it sets bad work ethic. When you get something so easily, you're not going to work as hard.
That little joke completely erased what really went down in 1993. Jordan didn't just wake up one day and say basketball wasn't fun. That summer, his father, James Jordan, the man who pushed him to become the legend he became, was murdered during a robbery. Gone. Just like that. MichaelJordan had just finished winning his 3rd straight championship, sitting at the peak of his entire career, and he walked away from the NBA to deal with this grief and honor his father's memory by chasing a dream they once talked about together, playing pro baseball. So when Durant casually drops that "some people play baseball" line with that smirk, he's not cracking a simple joke. He's taking one of the darkest moments of Jordan's life and turning it into a punchline.
What's happened to the rivalries in today's game? Like, I mean,
they don't hate each other.
That's
they don't like. See, I hated Larry and every Celtic. I really don't like you, but you're my little brother. Now I love you because you're out of that green and white. That's what it was, right? You. The Celtics, Lakers hate each other, disliked each other. So it made for great TV and people tuning in. And now with, I don't know if it's AAU, I don't know what it is. Now everybody's shaking each other's hand. Everybody like each other, won't go at each other like really hard. Even that's what happened to the All-Star game, see?
Yeah.
See, the All-Star
carried into the All-Star game. Right there.
See, we hated the East.
Right.
I'm coming I'm coming to bust you.
Right.
Michael, Isaiah, Dr. J. You can't have one over me. See, I'm coming to get that. Now,
see, Magic, this is what I
let
said.
them score 200 to 200. What is that?
LeBron and KD and Steve Nash did their little podcast thing, and they always drag the legacy
What
of
is it
Michael
called?
Jordan.
Is it called? Was it Cry Me a River?
Cry Me a River. I think
Cry
that's
Me a
it
River
called,
podcast? Oh, my God. I tell you what, man, listen. I was watching
Revisionist history, they should call it.
Yeah, you know what, Mark? Great players don't have to tell people they're great.
Yeah, that's true.
You let fans do that. You let people debate it on talk radio and podcasts. You know, players don't have to do that. You know, that we all know you're great. You don't have to tell us. You know, when you have to go around trumpeting that you're great and what separates you from all the other people that makes you greater than them, that's a problem. You know, that's a problem. That's why I say it's a Cry Me a River podcast, because you're crying and moaning about what they said. And they were kind of sneak dissing MJ. If you really listen between the lines, you know, they were talking about, KevinDurant was talking about how longevity is more important than rings and all that other stuff. Being in the league basically for 20 plus years shows the dedication and the hard work that you had to do to stay here. But he failed to mention, you know, the load management and this guy only playing in no more than 3 times in his career, you know, 82 games in a season.
Yeah, right.
LeBron's only played 1 time 82 games in a season. MJ 9 times in his career played 82 games, plus the playoffs and championships that goes into 115 games. So to listen to these guys discredit the former players and how great they were to you know, basically step on top of them to get themselves higher is really sad.
He's twisting a tragedy and using it to make Jordan look soft compared to players who stayed in the league longer. And LeBron sitting right there laughing along made it even wilder because it came off like he co-signed the whole thing. That's the moment Larry Bird reportedly said it went too far, because Bird knows exactly what it means to fight through real pain.
But you have to really play hard. Does that hurt you physically?
No, because when I play hard all the time. You know, there's no turn it on here, turn it off here. It's just 110% all the time.
We come to practice, he's on one leg. Like he was hurt the second year, he was on one leg the whole year and played 82 games. Wow. Like, and so he practiced every day and he played every game on one leg. And so he's like, man, MJ, why don't you just sit out? How can I be the leader of the team and sit out and y'all going through all the credit? I gotta be there.
I twisted my ankle and I had a teammate, David Greenwood. He says, you know, you twist your ankle, young fella, come over and sit with me. You know, this is, you need to. I said, no, man, I'm trying to make a name for myself. There's no way I can sit. You know, I need to get out there and show what I'm capable of. I want to play. I want to win. I want to make an impact.
He finished his career battling back problems so brutal, he had to lie flat on the floor before games just to get his body ready. He knows what it means to push through grief, injuries, and stress, and he knows Jordan's 1993 exit wasn't quitting. It was a human response to heartbreak. Now look at the timing of that first retirement. Was it after a first-round loss? After a finals meltdown? Not even close. Jordan stepped away after completing a three-peat, 3 straight championships. Something Magic Johnson never did. Something Larry Bird never did. Something Isaiah Thomas never did.
Like you mentioned a little bit about today's game, because we had Club on here and he talked about load management. He said, I don't know what the hell that is. Where is it going? And that's number one. And number two, how do we get it back?
Even for me, I love the NBA game, but then I turn on to a game, right? And then the stars are not playing because of load management. It's hurting the game.
You know, the fans are there to watch me play. I want to impress that guy way up on top who probably worked his ass off to get a ticket or to get money to buy the ticket.
You really cared about the guy who sat in the top deck at the Palace in Auburn Hills to watch you when you came to Detroit?
Yeah, because I know he's probably yelling at me and I want to shut him up. So if the guys are coming to watch me play, I don't want to miss that opportunity. Now, physically, if I can't do it, then I can't do it. But physically, if I can do it, and I just don't feel like doing it, that's a whole different lens.
Jordan reached the top of the basketball world, stood there alone, and then stepped away while dealing with the hardest moment of his life. That's not quitting. That's a man mentally and emotionally drained after carrying the burden of being the greatest while surviving unimaginable pain. Now here's where the irony gets so thick, you could slice it clean with a knife. The person throwing shade at Michael Jordan is Kevin Durant, a superstar who's been called out for some of the most questionable team moves in NBA history. In 2016, Durant and the Thunder were up 3-1 on the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals. The series slipped away, they lost, and that summer Durant shocked the whole league by signing with the same Warriors squad that knocked him out.
What do you think of when you hear the term load management thrown around?
It shouldn't be needed, first and foremost. You know, I never wanted to miss a game because it was an opportunity to prove. It was something that I felt like, you know, the fans are there to watch me play. I want to impress that guy.
You know, it's all about winning championships and winning.
A 73-win powerhouse already stacked with Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. To this day, fans still debate that decision, calling it one of the most controversial moves ever. And it didn't stop there. When things fell apart in Brooklyn, he requested a trade, wanting a fresh start instead of trying to rebuild the situation himself. Then he headed to Phoenix, and when that run didn't go perfectly, reports surfaced that he was open to moving again. This is the same guy taking shots at Michael Jordan's commitment, and that's wild. And then there's LeBron. The first time Cleveland hit tough times, he announced he was taking his talents to South Beach to join D-Wade and Chris Bosh. When Miami started sliding in 2014, he went back to Cleveland. When that chapter ended, he shifted to Los Angeles. Every time a situation started to collapse, he found the next move that made sense for him. And look, switching teams isn't wrong. It's part of the business. But you can't bounce from one loaded roster to another and then criticize Jordan for stepping away after a three-peat while grieving his father's murder. That's not just disrespectful. It's completely out of touch with the real story behind that moment. And the podcast conversation didn't even stop with the baseball line. It kept going. Durant didn't stop. He kept pushing this idea that the real goal for an NBA player should be lasting 20 years in the league. Not chasing championships, not stacking MVPs, not squeezing every drop of talent out of your prime, not dominating every season, just staying around as long as possible. And LeBron sat there nodding like it was some deep message instead of what it really sounded like. A complete misunderstanding of what true greatness is. This is exactly where Jordan's whole mindset blows their argument apart, and where LarryBird's reported reaction hits right to the core of the debate. Michael Jordan never chased longevity. He chased perfection. Every single season came with one mission: maximize himself, elevate his squad, win titles, and dominate on both ends of the court. Jordan played 15 seasons, but really only 13 full ones once you factor in the retirements. And in those 13 seasons, he collected 6 championships, 6 finals MVPs, 5 regular season MVPs, 10 scoring titles, and 9 all-defensive selections. That's not impressive. That's about as close to flawless as basketball has ever looked. Now put Durant and LeBron side by side. Together, they've stacked up 39 seasons, nearly triple Jordan's prime years. And what does that whole stretch add up to? 6 championships combined, 5 regular season MVPs, 6 finals MVPs, 5 scoring titles, and 5 all-defensive selections. In almost 40 years between them, they've accomplished less than what Jordan did in roughly a decade. Twice the time, half the results. Let's get into mentality, because that's the real divider between these eras. When Jordan came into the league in 1984, he played all 82 games as a rookie. And that was during a time when basketball was way more physical and way more demanding. Teams flew commercial. There was usually one trainer, maybe one strength coach, and back-to-backs were non-stop. The schedule was brutal, yet players still suited up every night. In the 1999 to 2000 season alone, 58 players played all 82 games. Now compare that to today. The worst years for player availability in NBA history are happening right now in the 2020s. Even though players have every luxury you can think of: private jets, full medical teams, sports science departments, elite training facilities, customized nutrition plans. And despite all that, guys are playing less than ever before. Why? Because the mentality shifted. Jordan carried a philosophy that shaped everything he did. He believed being an NBA player was a privilege, not a burden. He knew fans worked hard for their money, saved up to buy tickets, and showed up expecting to watch the best compete. When someone making tens of millions sits out because they're tired, it feels like a slap to the people who paid to see them. Jordan never looked at the game that way. He respected it. He respected the fans who made his whole career possible. There's a famous story from early in his career when Jordan twisted his ankle. A teammate told him to sit down and rest. Jordan wasn't having it. He said he was trying to make a name for himself, that he needed to show what he could do, that he wanted to make an impact. That mentality never faded for Jordan. Even when he became the biggest superstar on the planet, he still showed up for the kids sitting in the cheap seats at the very top of the arena. Meanwhile, LeBron James has played a full 82-game season exactly once in his entire career, one time in over 20 years. Players like Bird, Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, even Allen Iverson did it multiple times without complaining. And here's the part that really hurts the league. When the top player sits out, it sends a message to everybody else. If LeBron can rest, why shouldn't everyone else? That attitude spreads across the whole NBA. Role players start resting. Bench players start sitting out. Soon the entire league is treating regular season games like they don't matter unless it's the playoffs. And the fans are the ones paying the price. They spend big money on tickets, show up with excitement, and then half the stars are sitting on the bench wearing street clothes instead of jerseys. Kevin McHale broke it down perfectly when he said Jordan's era was different because Jordan set the tone. When Michael Jordan was the face of the NBA, players showed up. They competed. They played through pain because that's what the job demanded. Jordan himself missed 64 games in one season with a broken foot, and team management wanted to shut him down for the rest of the year. Jordan wouldn't accept that. He came back on limited minutes just to be on the floor, and when games came down to the final 30 seconds, he demanded to be out there. Not for stats, not for his resume, but because he refused to let his teammates or the fans down. So what comes to mind when you hear the phrase load management? Today's players making $95 million a year saying they can't hoop 4 days a week. They won't do back-to-back games anymore. They need scheduled rest days before the season even begins, and fans are just supposed to accept that? You can't expect people to drop hundreds of dollars on tickets when the stars they came to see might not even touch the floor. It's hurting the entire product. People tune in for a big matchup, and the biggest names are sitting out because of load management. That never would have happened in Jordan's era. It never would have happened in Bird's either, because those players understood something today's game seems to be losing. You earn everything you get. You don't ride on potential or hype. You show up and prove yourself every single night. Jordan and Bird played fewer than 15 full seasons each. Why? Because they emptied the tank every night, diving on the floor, locking up on defense, doing whatever it took to win. They weren't pacing themselves for year 20. They weren't thinking about longevity. They were thinking about tonight's matchup and this year's title. They played with fire that burned crazy bright. And no, that kind of intensity doesn't last forever. And that's the beauty of it. In those shorter careers, they accomplish more than most players do in 20 years. Meanwhile, Durant and LeBron have spent years chasing their own personal milestones, stats, points, all-time rankings, individual marks. Jordan even admitted that if he cared about scoring records, he could have kept playing and chased Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. But he didn't care about that. He cared about rings. He cared about winning. He cared about being the best when it actually mattered. And there's another angle nobody brings up enough. Jordan's generation earned their giant contracts and endorsement checks by building the league first. They turned the NBA into must-watch TV before they ever cashed in. They built the global brand that today's players cash in on. And only after proving themselves, winning titles, and packing arenas every night did the big money start flowing. Today, players get max contracts before they've played a single NBA minute. They get million-dollar shoe deals off potential alone. And even though that's smart business, it changes the mindset completely. When you get everything before you've earned anything, the hunger fades. The nightly drive to prove yourself disappears. Jordan and Bird came from a time where you had to earn every dollar, every endorsement, every piece of respect. Nothing was handed out. So when Durant says the real goal is playing 20 years, he's revealing the real difference between his era and Jordan's. Jordan didn't care about sticking around just to collect checks. He cared about domination. He cared about being the best in the world with no debate. He cared about a legacy nobody could touch, and he did all of that in 13 full seasons. Durant and LeBron have almost 40 combined seasons, and they're still chasing Jordan's shadow. Every debate ends up back at him. Every all-time list still places him at the top, and no amount of longevity or stat padding is ever changing that. Now here's the part that makes Larry Bird's reported reaction hit different. NBC recently brought MichaelJordan back into the NBA media world. Why? Because even now, more than 20 years after his final retirement, Jordan still holds more influence and power than anyone playing today. When Jordan speaks, the whole basketball world pays attention. And when he says players should compete every night and respect the game and the fans, that message hits across every generation. That's Jordan's real answer to Durant and LeBron. Not some podcast rant, not a Twitter post, not a heated press conference. His response is the fact that he's still the most relevant name in basketball. His response is the weight his name still carries, heavier than anyone playing right now. And according to people close to him, this is exactly what Larry Bird has been telling friends and former teammates. Bird reportedly said Jordan doesn't need to clap back because his career already speaks louder than anything Durant or LeBron could ever say. The numbers speak. The championships speak. The way he played speaks louder than any debate. Bird gets this better than almost anyone because he built his own legacy the same way. Through toughness, through showing up, through competing every single night, no matter the pain or the moment. And LeBron and Durant can laugh on their podcast all they want. They can downplay championships, they can joke about Jordan's baseball break, but the truth is simple. They're still measured against him. They're still compared to him. They're still trying to convince the world they belong in his conversation, and that alone says everything. Jordan never had to convince anybody. He just showed up and proved it. Night after night, season after season, championship after championship. Greatness doesn't need 20 years to make its point. Sometimes it just takes one moment, one run, one season to remind the world what real dominance looks like. And Jordan had 13 seasons of delivering exactly that. Durant and LeBron, with all their longevity and all their stats, still haven't matched what Jordan did in basically a decade. That's not an opinion. That's straight numbers. That's history talking. So yes, MichaelJordan responded to KevinDurant and LeBronJames, and Larry Bird is backing him up all the way. They didn't even need to say Durant or LeBron's names to make their point. Their whole legacy, their mindset, their way of treating the game, that was the real response, and it hits louder than anything said on a podcast, louder than every excuse about load management, louder than all the talk about longevity, louder than any jokes about baseball. Because when everything settles and history tells the truth, Jordan is still at the top, and everyone else is looking up, trying to imagine what it felt like to reach that level of greatness. If you feel like today's NBA has lost its spark, smash that like button. If you think players should start respecting the game and the fans who keep this whole thing alive, drop a comment and tell me how you see it. And if you want more breakdowns exposing what's really happening in the league, hit subscribe. This conversation is nowhere near finished.